Today, the summer's best from the global lane. A former ISIS bride leaves her jihadist husband. Alveda King on the Democrats, Trump, and race. And can Islam be reformed? And it's all right here on the global lane. Persecution against people of faith is rising around the world, and according to a new Pew Research study, Christians and Muslims are suffering the most. Pew says in general, Christians were persecuted in 143 countries in 2017. That's compared to 107 in 2007. Muslims faced persecution in 140 countries in 2017 compared to 96 in 2007. Jews were persecuted in 87 countries compared to 51. Now, some of the worst persecution against Christians has occurred in the Middle East, where ISIS and other militant groups have waged jihad against ancient Christian communities in Syria and Iraq. And you may think ISIS is just a group of fanatic, radicalized Middle East Muslims. Not true. Some radicalized Westerners have joined the terror group. So how could that happen? Young people growing up in Canada, the U.S., France, or England, living happy, normal lives, leaving the comfort of their homes and joining the jihad. Well, joining us from Washington, Tanya Joya and Shireen Kadosi. They recently appeared on Capitol Hill, warning Congress and the public about violent extremism and the radicalization of children. So, Tanya, tell us, you ended up marrying a man who joined ISIS. I'm assuming your husband became radicalized after you married him. Tell us what happened.
He came from a upper middle class family who had a military history. His dad was a colonel in the Air Force for 30 years, and his grandfather had served in World War II. But with John's experience, he suffered from depression and turned to drugs. And he did drugs for many years before he found Islam. And with Islam and the Muslim community, he felt acceptance, whereas with American standards, I guess he felt very rejected because he wasn't the most athletic and he didn't meet up to his dad's expectations. So once he started going to the mosque in Texas, the Muslim community embraced him, and they were expats studying at Texas A&M. And from there, he traveled to Syria, and then he met Muslims from the UK who convinced him that jihad is the only way we're going to be able to stop the oppression on Muslims and establish our own state and have a head of state. So that's when he became interested in a caliphate and jihad. And it stemmed from there. And then 10 years on later, we separated because I couldn't take that way of life anymore. And he started a revolution, and it eventually led to ISIS.
How have you been treated as a result of your husband's actions? I know you're a British citizen. Have you been allowed back into England? What about some other so-called ISIS brides?
Yeah, so I'm allowed to go back to the UK, but I believe it was America and American values that changed me, that opened my mind and opened my heart. I started reading Thomas Paine material and other Benjamin Franklin, and I learned about the US Constitution and the Bill of Rights, and I loved these documents. It made me question my own religion, and I started questioning growing up I was told Islam, the Quran is the word of God, and Islam is perfect, and you're not allowed to think differently. And after leaving my husband, I had the freedom to think for myself. And I had the freedom to read whatever material I wanted, and I had the freedom to have a voice in America. So, you know, America recreated me and gave me a second chance to actually be free. And I'm ever grateful to the US government for giving me and my children the opportunity to live here and not have to stay and die in Syria.
I'm sure the first step in preventing violent extremism is recognizing in the first place that radicalization is taking place. So what should people look for?
So I grew up as a Muslim, and I'm still a Muslim today, and one of my big concerns is the level of ISIS recruitment and radicalization in the U.S. We currently have 1,000 open cases of recruitment and radicalization. What we're seeing is those patterns being repeated by neo-Nazi groups, Antifa, and other social militarization Our PVE training program takes the data and the field research that's usually behind closed doors in academic circles and puts it in the hands of real people in communities, bringing communities together to amplify resources and materials so that people can really help youth and vulnerable communities that are open to radicalization stay away from radicalization processes.
Well, Shireen, I know it's not just the internet where people are becoming radicalized. What other avenues of influence are you seeing that parents and others should be aware of when their children are influenced?
Right now, there's a lot of peer pressure as well. What we see with the neo-Nazi groups is there's an epidemic in junior high and high schools where the behavior is being repeated on campus, behind closed doors, at private parties, and online. And so college campuses and, of course, also high school and junior high campuses are really struggling with how do we really challenge that. And one of the solutions is to offer a counter message. It's not enough just to say this is a hate group, don't join it, because as we saw with the war on drugs, saying no to drugs doesn't work. And the next sort of playground for youth is extremist ideologies.
I know that Antifa is very active at our colleges.
Colleges are dealing with censorship, and they're dealing with a lot of groupthink behavior, which is antithetical to the entire spirit of a college education. So it's definitely another campus, another opportunity for recruiters to target people who are feeling like they don't belong, and then pull them into these pocket behaviors, these pocket communities where they do feel like they do belong. And what's really interesting about the U.S. right now is the behavior that we're seeing on college campuses with the sort of far leftist rhetoric is the same sort of recruitment and radicalization that happens in the Middle East with the far, I would say the Islamist extremists who go ahead and they cultivate recruits for the Muslim Brotherhood, for Al-Qaeda. It's the same sort of behavior pattern repeating in the U.S. right now.
And Tanya, tell us about the movie Kids Chasing Paradise. I know screenings have taken place around the world. What's it about, and what are you hoping will happen as a result?
The Kids Chasing Paradise is about extremist groups, terrorists, exploiting children as cannon fodder and putting them on the front lines.
I'd like members of Congress to bring our PVE training program that's a free resource to their communities. We have a pilot program in Richmond Hill right now that brings together key stakeholders in law enforcement, education, and different clergy members, and of course the media and elected officials, so that all key stakeholders are informed on what a PVE training program looks like and how they can implement the solutions, mostly the solutions for PVE in their communities. And it's a free resource. We will come to you, and we are happy to help communities help prevent radicalization.
Okay, Shireen Kadosi and Tanya Joya, thanks so much for joining us today from Washington.
It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh, no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
Young people, millennials, are flocking to church.
It's not an exaggeration to say that we love to meet them and that we love to know their stories.
Come home to the Southern Gospel Station from CBN Radio. You'll enjoy a rich Southern blend of bluegrass, classic gospel, and Southern gospel favorites. CBN Southern Gospel. Available now at cbnradio.com.
Woohoo! Hi, Superbook fans. Here's something else you'll love. Whoa! It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh, no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
The Millsburg Falls man.
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes, too. And so much more! Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon! It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
Minutes after the Walmart mass shooting in El Paso, some Democrats and members of the media targeted President Donald Trump. They say the president's tweets and rhetoric about immigration and the border incited the shooter to open fire on innocent shoppers. Democratic presidential candidate Beto O'Rourke said he believes the president is a white nationalist, a racist who, quote, stokes racism in this country. It seems race has now become a major issue in the 2020 presidential sweepstakes. Well, joining us with some insights on this issue is evangelist Alveda King. She is Director of Civil Rights for the Unborn for Priests for Life. Mrs. King, it's a pleasure to talk with you. So what is your take on all of this back and forth about our president being a racist?
Well, I've been hearing that, but first let me say this. We have so much turmoil in the country. There are random acts of violence just exploding, and we want to say that we are praying. When I say we, over at civilrightsfortheunborn.org, are praying for those who've experienced losses. And there's a stirring about racism with a misunderstanding, with people feeling as though we are separate races. We're not colorblind. We can see. Jesus gives sight to the blind. Over in the book of Colossians, it says, pray with me with your eyes wide open. If my eyes are open, I can see you. I'm writing a book with Ginger Howard, my friend, on that subject. Now, as to the issues of racism and calling the president a racist and playing the race card, this race has to be justified and get reparations, and this race needs to do this, and this race needs to do that. Well, certainly, even with reparations, if the government pays reparations with tax dollars, and I'm African American and I'm asking for reparations, you take my tax money and pay me reparations. That's not going to work. But the people that did the oppressing at the time of slavery and Jim Crow, and when you were young, when in the 1960s, and you participated in civil rights, all of those folks, well, there were people at the same time, organizations that started, and they were getting money because of oppression, because of mistreating people, because of slavery, because of genocide, because of eugenics. And those big organizations have billions of dollars now. You put them all together, they have trillions of dollars. They still exist. That's who needs to help take the money that they have used to harm America and help to heal America. President Trump understands this. He's not a racist. He's not colorblind. He said we all bleed the same. He gets it. He could see it. So he doesn't see us by skin color as separate people. He sees ethnicity. He responds to ethnicity, and that's okay, but he's not a racist. The race card makes people mad. It stirs them up. You're a racist. You're a racist. Oh, no, we are one blood. Acts 17:26.
So what do you think about race being used as an issue by candidates in the upcoming 2020 campaign season?
Well, when you have a genuine platform and you can prove that you're making America better, making America great, and you want to keep America great, such as bringing the steel mills back and jobs back to America, such as defending the unborn in the womb and doing everything you can to protect the unborn, reuniting families of returning citizens from prison, bringing them back into the community with jobs in the opportunity zones, small business administration, historically Black colleges and universities getting money. All of this is out of the Trump administration, under the leadership of President Donald John Trump, making a park for an African-American man, Martin Luther King Jr., signing that order, religious freedom. Okay, so you've got a real platform and you're doing things for America. Now, if you have a platform that still votes for aborting babies, if the baby is born alive, you just make it comfortable, let it die because you meant to abort it, and that kind of thing. Or you don't know what to do with people who want to come to this country for help, so you open all your borders and make no requirements with no support for them coming in and getting brought into a country and learning to love the country. If that's all you can do, then what else can you do but yell racism?
But what effect does it have on the country and race relations when the president criticizes 4 congresswomen of color, Congressman Elijah Cummings, and the city of Baltimore?
Well, I noticed we're having random acts of violence that are outbursting, just coming all over the country, but we have random acts of kindness. You have to look at the source of the kindness. You have to look at the source of the violence. And so I've just given you many, many things that are helping America, healing America, that President Trump is doing. We've got to continue to heal. And the way to do that, we begin ourselves, seeing each other as brothers and sisters, not separate races. I'll give you a foreign language. This is a new language here. When I say words like civility, kindness, decency, those are words that the music out there is not playing it. The movies are not doing it. And so we forget to talk that way ourselves. So we have to remember to do that. And as we begin to be kind to each other, stop calling each other my race and your race, but we are human beings. We all bleed the same, like President Trump says. So I see brothers and sisters, and I stop. He's an avid listener. He's a very active listener. I was in a meeting with President Trump. There were 20 pastors and leaders from the Black community. You notice I didn't say race, community. And as he was there, he gave us the floor. He didn't just tell us all of this, but he listened. He actively listens. And after you meet with him a few weeks, months, or days later, you go back and you see the progress. From the day he got in there, President Trump has been effectively and positively addressing those little babies in the womb.
And how do you think your father and Uncle Martin would respond to all of this if they were alive today?
And my dad, Reverend Alfred Daniel Williams King, A.D. King, M.L. King, Daddy King, Martin Luther King Sr., would encourage us to pray, love each other, watch our words, let those words be kind, and listen and speak and act together as brothers and sisters. We can actually do that. And, you know, like I said, you've got random acts of kindness and random acts of violence and evil. Now, the media, for some reason, much of the media will only publish the bad news. They won't publish the good news. And so we have to look for that good news, and then we have to be the good news. And we can do that. And, you know, I'm at Civil Rights for the Unborn.org or alvedaking.com. I've got books. I've got a music album, Tender Moments Along with God. I actually have 3 albums, a cookbook, all those kinds of things, everything that God blesses me to create. So I just do everything I can to promote and bring good news forward. And we have good news in us. We just have to proclaim it.
Mrs. Alveda King, evangelist and director of civil rights for the Unborn for Priests for Life. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much. God bless you and all your viewers and listeners.
Are you suffering from feeling tired or worn out during the day? Can you not turn off your brain at night? You are not alone. Hi, I'm Dr. Michael Bruce, the Sleep Doctor, and I've partnered with the Christian Broadcasting Network, and we're going to bring you some unbelievable information that you can use tonight to get a better night's rest.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free copy of Protect Your Sleep today.
If you want to be an attorney with a passion for serving people and for excellence, Regent University needs to be high on your list.
Regent's award-winning law school doesn't just create lawyers. We create leaders, judges, prosecutors and defense lawyers, civil litigators, and leaders in government.
My focus has been trying to really make sure we have the future leaders we need for the bench and the bar and for society generally.
You'll learn from highly credentialed leaders who are current and former judges, distinguished scholars, and ACLJ counsel.
I'm so glad I chose Regent. The relationships here have been amazing. The faculty have been amazing. Not everybody's called to the same thing when they leave law school, but they're called by a God who has a purpose for their lives, and He is going to use that education to make a difference in the world.
Regent will prepare you to be a purpose-driven, practice-ready lawyer. To start your rewarding law career, complete the online application, submit your transcripts, and take the law school admissions test by July. Apply today.
If you want to be an attorney with a passion for serving people and for excellence, Regent University needs to be high on your list.
Regent's award-winning law school doesn't just create lawyers. We create leaders, judges, prosecutors and defense lawyers, civil litigators, and leaders in government. Ready to become a purpose-driven, practice-ready lawyer? To start your rewarding career, complete the online application, submit your transcripts, and take the law school admissions test by July.
Prophecy thousands of years old. We were called to be a light to the world.
Being fulfilled today. Discover how. Get to life. Call 1-800-700-7000.
We consider it our duty to reach out and help others around the world.
For a gift of $10 or more, you can own the acclaimed CBN documentary To Life. Just call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to CBN.com.
To treat a human, no matter what he is, which religious he have, which color he is, this is what I'm doing.
See how the people of Israel are fulfilling prophecy.
History is being written, and I want to be a part of it.
By sharing their knowledge.
In Africa, in Asia, in South America, in East Europe.
And their love.
This is how we work. This is us.
Get to life. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to CBN.com.
Get Protect Your Sleep and discover how to improve the quality of your life. A free DVD or booklet from the Christian Broadcasting Network.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
5 leading experts help remove the obstacles between you and restorative sleep.
When you don't get a restful night's sleep, you wake up with an accumulation of stress.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet today.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
You'll discover how food affects your sleep, how to put insomnia to rest, explore effective remedies for sleep apnea, and much more in Protect Your Sleep. Wake up to your best life and get Protect Your Sleep today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet.
Reform means improving something that is corrupt. Many people around the world say Islam needs someone who will reform the faith like Martin Luther did with the Catholic Church. I recently attended the 10th Annual Coptic Solidarity Conference in Washington, D.C., where that topic was discussed by a panel of experts. So can Islam be reformed? Here's former Muslim, Christian television host, Brother Rashid.
It's like saying bringing Islam to its original shape, to a working shape. What if the original shape was not working? What if it was deformed from the start, from the beginning? It was born deformed. You cannot reform something that was born deformed. And here we go to some problems that were mentioned by our panelists here. There are 4 mistakes. Those who believe in Reformation, they have 4 fundamental misunderstandings. First, they assume that all religions are the same. They are good in their core belief. They are born good, and they are for the good of humanity. But later on the course of history, they have been changed or altered by politicians, by different people, and that's what made them evil. They put Christianity with Buddhism, with Islam, everything in one basket. And that's wrong. We cannot approach religions with the same mentality. They are not the same. Let's say Christianity was practiced by the first apostles and the first disciples. Islam was practiced by the first Muslim community. What if the first community was violent? So bringing Islam to its first shape is actually, that's what we call Wahhabism and Salafism. And it will not give us a better results. It will give us probably a disaster. The second problem is comparing Islam to Christianity. Since the Reformation was successful with Christianity, either through Protestants or through Catholics, because there are Catholic Reformation as well. So because it was successful, then it must be successful with Islam. Well, that has an assumption that Christianity is like Islam and the West is like the East, and that's not happening. The third problem is the wishful thinking. I wish that Islam can be reformed. I hope, I pray. But Is it going to happen? That's a different story. People in the West, they wish that Islam can be reformed. And because they have this wishful thinking, they want it to happen, and they encourage everybody who says, I am a reformist. I want to reform Islam. The idea of reforming something is easier than confronting the whole thing. So since it's easier, we prefer reformation. Confrontation is not welcome, especially in the West. A person like me, we are labeled as bigots, haters. Why? Because we confront the problem. To tell 1.5 billion that your religion has a problem in the root. It's not cosmetic. It didn't happen through history. It's from the beginning, and you have to deal with it. That's a hard message. Not everybody willing to embrace it. The fourth problem is we have some reformists, and we think they are going to reform Islam. Do they have at least one mosque? You can call it a reformist mosque. Do they have a reformed Quran? Do they have a reformed hadith? A reformed biography? Zero. They are not changing the Muslim world. They are changing the Western world. How to deal with it then? Well, there are some solutions. One of them, it's happening actually. Until 1961, slavery was allowed in the Muslim world. We didn't reform Islam to change slavery. We just forced the Muslim world to follow the international laws to abandon slavery. How did we achieve that? In Egypt, for example, they don't stone somebody who committed adultery. They don't cut the hands of a thief. They put him in jail. In Morocco, the same thing. How did we achieve that? By forcing them to follow the international laws. By disabling those texts. If you want to pray to your God using those texts, you're welcome. Go do it. But you cannot apply it on the ground, because it's inhumane. It's not welcomed internationally. So how are we going to achieve it? By forcing Muslim countries to embrace the international human rights. By separation between the state and religion. By respecting religious freedom. They are not going to attain it through reformation, but by countries like United States making Muslim world submit to the international community.
Well, that's it from the Global Lane. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, and Twitter. And until next time, be blessed.